We got a high spot that it's a hump right here, and it goes right on that weld. And this is what's dangerous about doing this, is if we hammer that too much, it's going to crack that weld, and we don't want that. So we need to be very, very careful. This seems like it's a little bit low in this area, and it's a little bit low here. So I'm thinking by doing the body work that I need, we can level all this out, because this really isn't that high, and I'm using my light source to see the body line here. I can see that this body line is a little bit lower in this area than it is right here. So this is lower. I think I can build this up to make my body line, because I'm going to have to anyway, like I said, and I want to use this to show you. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight that for you. It's right here. So there's a high spot in that area right there. And then what we're going to do to locate our high spot, the center of our high spot, we're going to take this tool right here. This is a metal file specifically designed for this type of application. It's a body file. And what we're going to do is we're going to file this area to find the center of our high spot. And we're going to hope and pray that it's not right next to this weld, this welded seam. Once again, if you manipulate that welded seam in any way, you will have the possibility of cracking that, and then you'll have to come back and weld it, which can cause a lot of issues. So doing this right here is very cautious in trying to manipulate that to come out. If I don't do something to this, if I leave it like that, when you look down the quarter panel, you're going to see this right here, and then there's going to be a hump there, and then it's going to be gone. So we need to do something about that high spot to get it out. So as you see, my eyeball wasn't correct. I thought the high spot was here, but it's actually right there. So let's go ahead and put a little bit more of this right here, because we need to find and locate our high spot. And that is where our high spot is right there. Let's go ahead and file it one more time. And now you can plainly see the high spot is right here. This is a low, it starts leveling out here, and then of course it levels out there. So the next thing we want to do, we want to go ahead and grab our hammers that we're going to use. And they're up here. And the hammers in question, if I can get them lined out, are going to be these right here. What we got two body hammers. We got a curved pick, a straight pick, and then we also have a shrinking hammer head. So we got these two hammers, and then I got a slap hammer, which is basically called a spoon hammer, that we will use in the end.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So we're going to go ahead and start out with our flat pick hammer, chisel hammer right here. And then what we'll do is we're going to try to stay away from that welded area. We're going to go ahead and pay attention how I hold the hammer and use it. Very, very important. What I'm doing, I'm giving it nice, even, solid blows. I'm not letting it bounce off like this, okay? We're not holding our hammer like this. We're holding it like this, so when I strike, it stops. Does that make sense? All right? I'm going to hold my hand here because I don't want this panel to vibrate. Now, look at there, all right? I can feel the high spot is starting to flatten out. It's a little bit high in this area right here. Let's go ahead and hit that. Okay, that feels really, really nice. It's a little bit high in this area still. Let's go ahead and do something with that. And that feels really good. That's going to actually work for our body work. Let me go ahead and take the file and kind of show you what we did. This will kind of give you our roadmap. And you can see it's starting to remove the red dye from the sides, telling me that we have taken that spot and flattened it out. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and take a gamble. It's a little bit high right here on this weld, but the way that I'm going to do that, I'm not using my chisel pick side. I'm going to use the shrink head and see what we can do. And I'm just going to do a couple blows here. And that feels a lot better. There's a little bit of a high spot here. I'm going to go ahead and I think that's going to work right there. Let's go ahead and get this section right here just a little bit more. Okay, there you go. Our high spot is now gone. To get that prepped and ready for body work, what I'll do is I'll take my Roll-O-Lock grinder . Yeah, that feels a lot better. I think we're going to be able to really do something with that. So what we're going to do now, since I already know that we're going to have to bring the bodywork way down here, I'm going to go ahead while I'm at it and take my grinder with 36 grit, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this area up as well. Now what I'm doing here with this is I am prepping the surface where our Bondo is going to be applied. That's very important. You cannot apply Bondo to 80 grit, sand grit surface. It will not work. It will come off, it will fall off, and you have to do a minimum of 40 grit sanding. 40 grit. I use 36 grit. I like 36. It's a little bit rougher, but it works a lot better. And it makes the surface where our Bondo will grip and hold forever. So I use 36 grit. I do not use 40 grit. When I'm using my air tools, and you're going to see that, the grit paper that I start out with is 36 grit, not 40. So what we have is a prepped panel ready to start our body work. You saw me do a little bit of hammer and dollying right in this area. I didn't use a dolly, but I did use a hammer. It did have a very extreme high spot here. We went ahead and eliminated that high spot. And once again, we could have done it many different ways. But when you're in business doing this, you have to go by what you are getting paid to do the job. Now I know that the budget that this guy is on, he wants a top-notch 100% job, but he does not want to have 4 hours in a dent, if that makes any sense. And I already know that when I get done with this, it's going to be flawlessly perfect and will last the lifetime of his life and probably others. So let's not go into the extreme of you should have done it this way, you could have done it that way. This is how it should have been done, and why didn't you do it this way? There's many, many different ways to do this type of work, and it all depends on when you're in business. This is what we have to do to survive.
It's that time to go ahead and subscribe. We need you to subscribe and click that bell, comment below, or this nuclear bomb bumblebee is going to explode your house up into a million pieces, and you won't have anywhere to work or live or anything. So if you're a do-it-yourself guy, you need to subscribe, click the bell, click the bell, there you go, click that bell, and do it right. Nuclear bomb Bumblebee says to do it now.
The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to start applying our Bondo. Now, I use these type of spreaders. These are the type of spreaders that I use. I've been using these all my life. I feel comfortable with these spreaders, and I can accurately, precisely apply Bondo to anything using these two type of spreaders. Now, I'm showing you these spreaders because this is what I use. A lot of people will use a spreader kind of like this right here, metal, because that's what they use. So what you use and what you're trained on is what you should stick with because it works. Does that make sense? When you see videos saying, you need to get rid of these are junk, and this is what you need to start using, don't listen to that, please. Use what you feel comfortable with and what you learned on and you know that works. Both of these spreaders are different. This is a rigid spreader. This is a hard spreader, okay? That means that it doesn't mold like it would. This is more for like flat stuff where you wouldn't bend it. This one here is a thinner spreader. It's contoured different, and you can actually mold it. Do you see how I'm doing that? Use your hand and mold it to the panel. Or if you got a very big low spot, you can mold it and make a section where you can fill in just that section and then feather it out. So these two spreaders are different even though they're made of plastic. Let me go ahead and grab this. When I got big areas big flat areas, let's just say, now I can't use this on this car because the quarter panel is like this. But if there was a giant area that I had a bunch of door dings in or possibly a big dent that we just got done hammering and dolling, I might take this thing right here and use it to go across it or on a hood, level it out. I might use something like this. So it all depends on what you feel comfortable with using and how you have learned to do it. And let's go ahead and start talking about the Bondo that I use and that I've been using all my life and that I am comfortable with using. The Bondo that I use is basically this right here. This is called Dynalite. It's made by a company called Dynatron. 3M recently bought them out, so it's not Dynatron anymore, it's actually 3M. This Bondo that you're looking at right here, when I purchased this, was $12 a gallon, okay? I bought it I bought like 10 cases of it at one time because I knew the prices of material were going to go sky high. Once again, I'm going to bring this up. Don't listen to everything that people tell you, okay? Use what you feel comfortable with and what you know works. Just because somebody goes out and buys a gallon of Rage Bondo that costs $100 and says, hey, this is the best stuff in the world, this is what you need to use, you don't need to, sir. You don't need to. Bondo is Bondo. I don't care what anybody says. It's ridiculous, okay? It's ridiculous. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you an inside trick of how you can make your own quote, quote, unquote, this quote, Rage Bondo. I'm going to show you how you can do that if you want to. So we're going to go ahead and get our Bondo out. And I like to mix up, when I start putting my filler on a whole quarter panel, I mix up a lot, all right? I mix a lot of it up, and that way I know that I can cover a lot of areas. And we got some big areas to cover, remember? So we're going to go ahead and get our Bondo out. Now, it is a little bit chilly out today, people. I don't know if you know that where you're sitting. But the temperature in my shop right now is around 50 degrees. So the Bondo is actually semi-hard, you might say. It's cold. Does that make any sense? So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this product right here. I don't like advertising for the companies, but I'm going to show you because this is what I use and I know it works. We're going to take our Bondo and then we're going to pour some of this and mix it in. Now, you're going to have to figure out the compatibility of how much to use, okay? I can't sit here and tell you. You're just going to have to, practice, all right, till you get it right. Then we're going to go ahead and add our hardener. And I will tell you, you need to use more hardener when it's cold out than when it's hot, all right? Don't go by the directions on the can, 10 drops of hardener for this much. That doesn't work. You go by the temperature. If it's cold out, use more hardener than if it's hot out. Being that it's only 50 degrees out here, 48 or 50 degrees, I'm going to have plenty of time to actually use my Bondo and use it properly. Let's go ahead and mix this up, then we're going to go over to the car and apply our Bondo to the vehicle. You want to make sure when you mix this up, there's no streaks in it, and it's all 100% the exact same compatible mixture, just like that. So we know we have damage in this area right here. That was previous damage that somebody repaired at an earlier date. So we're going to go ahead and fill that in. Now, the first coat of Bondo that I put on, it is not a finish coat. It is a filler coat only. That means I put it on thick, just like you're watching. It's a filler coat. I'm filling it in, people. Okay? So right now, we're not worried about making it pretty. All we're worried about at this point is filling it in and leveling it out. That's all we're doing. So if that looks like a lot of Bondo and you think that's wild, that's not the finished product. It's called a filler coat. That's all we're doing. We are filling it in. This is going to help us find our highs and lows, okay? And you're going to see that. This is not a finish coat. I'm going to repeat that several times to get it through your thick skull that this is only a filler coat. Remember the damage we had right here? Remember that? Well, we got to fill it in. That's a big area of damage right there. We've got to get that filled in, and we got to make sure that it's filled in proper. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and say it, this is a filler coat. This is not a finish coat. This is only to fill in the low spots. And you can actually see by me filling that in that it looks 100% better. So I don't have enough to do this body line here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and take some off this, just like that. And then I'll go ahead and fill this in. All right, because we got to create a body line there, remember? That has to be created. So I'll take some more off of there. And then I'm going to build this up. Filler coat, filler coat. I'm going to go like that. And then we'll leave that alone. I think this is a little bit too thick, so I'm going to come back and I'm going to skim it. I'm going to take some of that off and use it elsewhere. I think we got way too much filler on this section here, and most of it's going to go down on the floor after it dries. So what I'll do is remove some of that, and then I'll go down the line and put it elsewhere. It's actually a very straight car for being 50 years old. Now we had a bunch of door dings. I'm going to go ahead and pass on those for right now. because the filler, or I'm sorry, the Bondo that I mixed up is a little coarse, and I want to use a more creamier Bondo. So what I'll do when I do the small imperfections that I found, like these right here, these are door dings, and up here, what I'll do is I will take my Bondo and I will add more plastic honey to it to make it more creamy. And when we do our final coats on these, we're going to do the same thing. We'll use more honey as we go. And that is how you really actually make your own Rage Bondo that costs you $100. You take your plastic honey, mix it with your Bondo, mix it all together, and voila, you got Rage. So if you take a look at that, I want you to use the light to look at. You can see that that is coming out really, really nice, and all that is a filler coat. By using our plastic honey, you can see how our Bondo has started to level itself out and start to create its own filler example for us. But you can see by using our filler, we have leveled all that imperfection stuff out, and we're ready to start taking our roadmap and getting this job done. Okay, now that our Bondo has dried at an equivalent process where we can actually work with it, there's two ways that we can eliminate this and remove it. One of them is with this. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not suggest, if you don't know how to use this, do not use it. Stay away from this. We call them cheese graters. Other people call them other things, but this is an eliminator tool to get our Bondo where we want it. And the way that this works, you have to catch it just at the right drying time. If you do it when it's too soft, it'll peel the Bondo off. If you do it when it's too hard, it won't work at all. So I'm going to go ahead and do it right here. And you can see how it works as I'm using it. Now, the reason I say you have to catch it just at the right time, because this will actually lift the Bondo away from the metal if you use it when it's too soft. So you have to know how to use this to literally use it the proper way. So we went ahead and used our cheese grater, Bondo shredder, whatever you want to call this, and we went ahead and leveled this out, and we removed the glazing coat of the area that we Bondoed, if that makes any sense. Once again, it's very important that if you have never used one of these and you don't know how to use it, stay away from it. All it will do is screw your job up. So now that we've learned how to use that tool, and we already know that if you're not experienced with it, you should not use it at all. Stay away from it and don't even think about it. We're going to come to this tool right here. Now what this is a Bondo Buster, all right? This is a single action 8-inch DA sander, not a DA sander, that's a dual action. This is a single action SA sander. You can hear the gears in there. And this is basically an air-driven grinder that is specifically made for removing Bondo. It's called the Eliminator. Hutchins Eliminator. I've had this for many, many years. And another thing that we're going to use is our ear protection. This is very loud. We also want to wear that and this at the same time. Now, we're going to go ahead and mold our Bondo. Once again, this is a filler coat. We're not done with this, all right? We're going to go over it with a couple more air tools, but we did bring this down. We're going to do this area using this tool right here. And if I would not have used the cheese grater, Bondo grater, whatever you want to call it, I would have used this tool on the whole thing. But I wanted to go ahead and show you two different ways to remove the filler Bondo that needs to be removed. Now, one more thing I want to say before we get started. It's very important that you have to oil your air tools. Everybody knows that. When it comes to body shop tools, you want to use minimal air, all right? Minimal oil. Because what will happen, the oil will splatter and go all over your panel. So be very careful when you are oiling your tools. Don't over oil them. All it takes is a couple drops. And if you oil them, always, and this doesn't include air, this does not include an air file. Do not ever use an air file, and I'll explain that in a minute. Without it touching a panel, you can ruin it. But what you'll want to do is just hit the button a few times, get that oil moved around in there, and get it where it won't splatter on the vehicle. Okay, so what we have done, we have removed 80% of the Bondo that we applied. Now you can understand why I said that was a filler coat. That was not a finish coat. All we did was fill in all the low spots and try to level everything out the best we can get it. There's one more thing that I forgot to go over that's very, very crucial in semi-cold weather, and that is heating up your panel to make it workable and pliable for our Bondo. We have to heat that panel up, which I actually forgot to mention and do. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my heater on and get this all warmed up like I should have done before I applied my bodywork, my Bondo, and we'll get this to a working temperature of what it should be. Stupid me forgot to do that, and I'm showing you my mistakes here. Please learn from them.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.